Recording progress. Okay. Okay, so welcome everyone to the Agile Beer. It's been a while that we were not we're not running events, but we had like a summer break that it was really needed for most of us. And yeah, so really happy to be back and really happy to have you guys here. I'm trying to. Okay, so let's go really briefly through our meetup agreements. Some of you already know because most of you were already here before, but I see some new faces here. So let's make sure that we're also mentioning those. So yes, we have to be patient with domestic interruptions. Everyone's worked from home for a while, so we might have cats, dogs, kids running all over. So that happens. Just try to be mindful as well. And if there's something going on, please mute your mic. We recommend you guys to have any kind of drink. So you can have beers, you can have wine, you can have water, tea, whatever suits you better. There's a topic that we don't speak at all here, which is politics. So definitely let's avoid this topic. And today we won't have the lean beer itself, but we're going to have a panel, which is going to be a different format that I'm going to explain a bit later today. But the idea is that we also would like to see your reactions. So the more time you guys spend with the cameras on, the better for us and also for the panelists as well. The tools that we're going to use is Zoom, and it's not Slice. It's a Mentimeter that I'm going to share the link with you guys soon. And for feedback, and we also have for feedback, I'm also going to share Easy Retro link with you guys, and LinkedIn as well. We also be sharing shortly. So going really briefly through our mission statement, that this was actually inspired in the Golden Circle from Simon Sinek. And yes, we reinforce it every single time because we have to make sure that people understand the essence of the event. So yeah, why we do this? Because we want to spread the agile mindset and share knowledge and experiences. It's essential to increase the sense of community. And how we do this is by promoting meetups. Hopefully soon we'll be able to meet each other face to face again. Let's see, fingers crossed. And what are we? We are just a group of agilists that want to make a difference, promoting lectures and dynamics with a lot of beer and fun to whoever is available. Okay, and yes, we are around the world. We started in Rio. This is the reason why Rio is right there in the middle, but you guys can see that yes, we are spread all over. And currently we have around like 30K people subscribed in all the meetups altogether. I have to update that list, but it's a big number. It keeps increasing. I'm really happy for that. And yes, it's really nice to show that we're around the world, but it's also important for us to reinforce who is part of it, right, in the backstage. So this is us. Yeah, a bunch of people that make it happen. And this is where we are. So yeah, so this is the list of our meetups and our social medias. And so before we start with the talk, I'd like you guys to go to Mentimeter. Can someone maybe go to the link that I sent to the chat that I sent a while ago? Maybe just resend, because I sent there the Mentimeter link.
In WhatsApp?
In the chat. The chat in Zoom.
There is the easy retro. Oh, I can see now.
Yeah, I sent both.
Steve, send it again.
I'll resend.
Okay, yeah. Done. Thank you. So yeah, so the idea is that you guys try to pin in the map, where are you? It's the first time that I'm using this tool for this, okay? So let's real-time feedback.
It's not allowing me to pin. Is anybody else having the same issue?
We already have 5 pins.
Okay.
I have to click in somewhere near.
It worked here, I think.
I
Are
think
you
I could
using
pin
Chrome?
myself, but it's not reflecting in the actual map.
Okay,
You need
that's
to be
weird.
good on geography to do this. You're like, where the fuck I am? I have no idea.
Okay, and so this is already a feedback. Next time I'll make sure that I bring a different map that you can see the delimitations of the countries.
Yeah, I just placed somewhere where I think I am. So
Okay, no, that's okay.
You can type into the chat just for us to know, where are we going.
Yeah. So, but it's really nice to see that based on this information here, we can already see that they have multiple time zones at the same time. It's really nice to see. Okay. Continuing, before we start the talk, how energetic are you right now? Okay. That's a really nice grade. But it's interesting to see that we had people from different perspectives. So let's see if somehow by the end we try to change it a little bit. Okay, so now I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. And Sagin, I give you the word.
Sure. So that was over to me, Dani?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So let me.
Oops, did he freeze?
I think he froze.
Yeah, he looks like
Oh.
he's frozen.
to me as well.
Yeah.
Maybe let's give him a minute.
Yeah.
Are you able to see my screen?
Ah, he's back.
Yes.
You froze, Sagin. I can't see your screen. It says you started, but I cannot see anything.
Yeah, it's coming up, yeah.
Can you see it now?
Still blank for me.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
blank for me too.
For me too.
Let me see what I should do.
Maybe if you're using a different monitor, maybe it's a Windows problem. I mean,
No, I'm using the same monitor.
okay.
Let me try it again, maybe.
Yeah, technology, huh?
If all else fails,
Is it-
you could drop the file in WhatsApp in our panel group, and I can
We
try
can
it.
share for you,
Yeah,
Sagin.
because I
Yeah,
have a
let-
Mac and they work.
Let me try that.
Okay.
But let me try it again 1 second.
Maybe if you're sharing a specific window, sometimes it doesn't pick up the right window sometimes. So if you want to share the phone computer, if you are okay. Okay, now it is.
It's working.
Now it's working.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, great. Finally. So it's all clear now? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So a warm good evening to you all, and thank you for inviting me. Special thanks to Agile Beer Group, and I'm very honored to be here and talking about this topic of understanding the causes of stress and how to deal with it. Myself, Sagin Sebastian. I am an Agile coach working with Siemens Healthcare Division in Bangalore, India, and I'm doing my master's in psychology second year. I've taken my certification in counseling, and I do some level of counseling. I'm very passionate about this topic, and this is my future direction to be a full-fledged counseling and to support people. That's my main motto. Okay, coming to this topic. So can you see my next slide? Just wanted to ensure.
Mental well-being. That's what we
Yeah.
see.
Okay, great.
And he's gone.
Oh, there he froze again.
Yep. And he's gone.
When we look at, sorry, was there any?
Oh yeah, you froze a few seconds again.
Yeah, you froze and
Yeah.
you're not sharing anymore.
Oh, okay.
So if you could maybe just share the presentation with someone else, then we just share it for you.
Yeah, if you drop it in the WhatsApp group, I can pull it up and share it.
Let me. I'm just
Also-
thinking, how do I share the presentation through this?
Just drop it in the WhatsApp group for the Agile Beer panel. So you can just drag and drop the file in there and then press enter and it'll come to us.
Oh, I'm not having the WhatsApp.
You can also share here in the chat in the Zoom as well.
Yeah, that's true. You can.
So
How
if
do
you
I
go
do
to,
that?
Click
if you
on
go in
the
the chat,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the chat.
yeah. So there's a page and also a file.
Yeah,
If you click on the page, you can choose from where you want to share the file.
No, I'm not able to see that.
okay. Can you see the smiley face on the far right hand side next to the three dots? There should be a file icon there.
Maybe let me try to take a picture to send you.
Can hover over it and then it pops up because it goes away when you're not hovering over it.
Yeah, that might be the case then.
Either that or we could continue without the deck.
Yeah. Would you be okay to continue without the presentation, Sagin? Just maybe talk us through.
I can do that, but maybe I'm just wondering, will it be a bit difficult for you?
You can also try to send via email as well, whatever suits you better.
I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just let me open that.
Yeah, guys, life problems. That happens. If you were probably in a physical event, we would just grab another beer.
Exactly.
So yeah, stretch yourself.
Start talking to the person beside you
Yeah.
and catching up.
Yeah.
Dani, can you just send your email again in the chat?
Yes, I can do that. Yeah, the things of working remote. We never know what will happen. You guys see that Dawn is in YouTube right now. That's our dog.
Oh, it's a new dog.
Yes, it's Donna.
Big ball of hair.
How to entertain the public while they wait.
Yeah.
That's always work.
Yes,
Pika.
it is.
I had some beer here.
Yeah,
There.
yeah.
There it goes.
Pedro, yours is the huge version of Donna.
It's like, you guys bore me. I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah.
And when the trainer came here and I said that Gohan is fat and tired, she was really upset that, oh, he's not fat.
Decisions just let me
Yeah,
know
it
when
has
it's
gone,
sending.
Dani, to you. Maybe you can just check the mail.
Yeah, I'm refreshing the page.
Maybe it's a bit big file. I've sent it in PDF. I had to convert to PDF
Okay.
because of.
Okay, just got it.
Oh, great.
Okay, I just sent here in the group. Steve, can you share it?
Sure, let me get it. It's downloading right now. Clicking to open. Okay.
Yay.
It's all yours.
Great.
Just let me know when to turn the page.
Yeah, so I was in slide number 2. You can move to slide number 2. Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. So I was talking about the mental well-being. So when you talk about the mental well-being, you have two, two dimensions, or rather two extremes to it. One is the ultimate objective is to be happy always. And the other, I would say the other extreme is basically not so happy and then you harm yourself. And I just want to touch upon being this week of creating the awareness on mental well-being, suicide. And when you talk about suicide, there are different circumstances you may the people may end up having suicide. And then a couple of reasons I just wanted to quote from here, and this is one thing which I picked up from the internet, and you can see various reasons of suicide. And out of the 2 points which I thought would be relevant to this audience, which is of working community, one is on the, sorry, I'm just looking at it. Yeah, one is on this crisis in the past or upcoming 2 weeks. That means it's something like which triggered you within 2 weeks, either previous 2 weeks, which is something, some event has happened and then you're thinking about it, or maybe something is going to happen in the next 2 weeks. And 31% of the suicide is connected to that. And the other aspect I just want to highlight is that there is 10% of suicide which happens also due to job problems. And this is just wanted to create an awareness in this group about this. Okay, now let me come to the next slide where we're talking about some facts on suicide across world. 1 million people dies annually due to suicide. That is 1 death in every 40 seconds. More people die by suicide in a year than by murder or war combined together. And it is estimated that around 5% of the people attempt suicide almost once in their lifetime. And the other interesting fact is suicide by males is more than double, 2 times to 3 times, than of females or by females. These are some facts which I thought maybe thought of sharing with this group. So keeping this in mind, so how do we convert, or how do you, and this one of the biggest reasons of suicide is the stress levels in us in various reasons. Now connecting to the stress can you go to the next slide?
There.
So what is stress basically? When you talk about stress is the feeling in an individual due to the non-availability of needed resources, or it could be need resources, or it could be capability to address or overcome the need or problem with us. Okay, and you could connect to the capability, our mental capability or maturity. Many things can be connected there. And when there is a gap there, that is where the stress arises. And this is very subjective definition, and you could try to connect with taking one of the examples, what you think as stress, and then maybe when you try to apply this, it may match here. Now, moving to the next slide.
Okay,
on
Sagin, we got a request that you're going too fast, so could you slow it down just a little bit, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for that hint. When you talk about the stress, we have 2 aspects of stress. We talk about positive stress and we talk about negative stress. Okay. And when you talk about positive stress, this is something which is required for us because the motivation in you is also a stress. For example, now when you talk about receiving a promotion, when you talk about starting a new job, when you talk about marriage, when you talk about buying a new home, these are actually positive stress. And this positive stress is required for us to get the energy to accomplish something and achieve something, to meet our objective of our goals, life goals and your career goals, many things. So this positive stress is very much required. And these positive stress are short-lived. And if you connect back to this diagram or the chart, which is positioned in the center, you can see 3 lines there. no stress, that's the bottom line. And the next one is the positive stress, the positive part. And then there is upper limit, which is given as upper limit. That's actually the highest stress which anyone can sustain. Okay. Now, this positive stress, when you talk about, which is used for motivating you, which is used to energize you in achieving something. Beyond this positive stress, if the stress levels goes beyond what you can control by yourself, then it gets into this gray area. In your graph, if you can see, there's a line of an individual stress which I have plotted here. It gets into a beyond the upper limit, and that means that you may start getting frustrated. You may start getting panic. There are too many things coming into your plate, or you are not able to manage mentally whatever things you are having, the pressure you are having, the stress you are having. And if that prolongs to a large extent with respect to time, then you may go out of control, and then you may get into depression or your other stress disorders and all those things. And that is where you can see that that line sharply comes down. Okay, so this varies with individual to individual, and the timeline which is taken for being at that upper limit, and how much time it takes you to get into, or you becoming to a comfortable state, overstressing yourself and panicking, all those situations, that depends from person to person. But when you look at the larger graph, this is how it behaves. And the more you are crossing the upper limit, the chances of getting into the negative stress is higher. And the moment you get into negative stress, then it lasts long. That means it actually gets into a demotivated mode. You will have a hopelessness feeling, worthlessness, your self-esteem may go down. Okay, and it could be due to various reasons, like illness, being abused or being neglected multiple times, maybe a broken relationship, or death of a close family member or a close person. So various reasons could lead to this negative stress. So what I just wanted to reflect here is that there are two aspects of stress, the positive stress and negative stress, and there is a journey here, and from each individual to individual, this the line and the length of the line, all those things vary. And it is important for you to remember this graph. Maybe in the next slides, I will refer back to this picture. And it's important that the moment you get into beyond the upper limit of the stress, it's very important that you realize yourself, or you could also realize for others, and then see what you can do for that. And then moment you realize that you are getting into a zone of frustration and all those things, then you should look at bringing down your stress. Moving to the next slide. So here we are talking about causes of stress. Now, when you're talking about causes of stress, there are two ways I have divided the causes of stress. One is based on the basic needs, and the second aspect is based on the social needs. Now, when you talk about basic needs and social needs, basic needs is like clothing, your food, shelter, and all those things. I don't think there is anyone who would be struggling with respect to the basic needs. And mostly all the stresses what people are having now mostly will be related to the social needs. When you talk about social needs, we may be touching upon, for example, now we are having a house, okay, and maybe you want to buy a new house, a bigger house. That's not a basic need. That's actually based on a social need, because you start comparing yourself with others. You start looking at a social status where you want to show your positions, all those things. All those things are coming from your social need. The moment you start comparing with others. So basically the question is, if whatever stress is coming from the social needs, is it induced by self? Are we responsible for our own stresses? We cannot blame it on others. So if you really look at it, these are things which is induced by us. And one of the things I would like to bring it here is, for example, now when you talk about satisfaction, the formula for satisfaction is lesser the gap between your expectation and actual. Okay. Now, if your expectation is too high and you start working on your expectations, now I would like you to come back to that last graph which I showed. Okay, the upper limit. Your expectation is so high and your actuals, whatever you're reaching, is not able to catch up with that. Then you may get into cross your upper limit of the stress and get into the next mode. That is something you need to realize. And if you are there, then you may want to see that, okay, whether you can reduce your expectation or maybe do something to increase your actual so that you are able to achieve that. if you are moving without achieving your expectation, then you may get into a frustration mode, and that's what you need to be very careful. So there is always, these things are in your hand. When you're talking about satisfaction, you can reduce your expectation if you're getting into frustration mode, and or the actuals can be increased. So this is the high level stress. There are two parts, the basic needs and the social needs. Now moving to the next slide. Here, when you talk about the causes of stress to a next level, mainly this is happening from 4 angles. It could be from the health related issues, it could be from the financial related issues, it could be from the relationships, it could be from the work related. Now, mostly what happens is the stress, if you're getting into a panic mode, if you're getting into the frustration mode, typically, if the stress is coming from one of these areas, you should be able to manage. But the moment it crosses more than one area, then it becomes difficult, and that is where it becomes difficult for us to manage, and it becomes too complex. Also, it becomes get into a frustration mode, depression mode, and all those things. And the moment you have impact from more than one area, that is where you may get into the anxiety disorders or depression or get into addictions. So these are something which you're talking about, the causes of stress. Now moving to the next slide. Now I just wanted to connect to some of the causes or some of the indications or some of the areas of causes from the workplace context, because since we are talking from a workplace context, I just want to touch upon that. Now, one of the main areas is the workload or long hours. Okay. People issues, office politics, work-life balance has a major impact because we need to balance between both, and sometimes it's not easy to balance between both based on the prioritization which we need to give in both areas. Lack of support, it's very important because sometimes when you are new to a system or there is a new responsibility which is given or new work which is given and we are facing some challenges, if you don't get the real support from our colleagues, from our management, from the people around, it becomes very difficult. Responsibility with lack of competency. So maybe we get a new responsibility and there is lack of competency in us and there is no training which is given, or maybe there is no people to support. Those things also could create stress within us. Other areas is lack of motivation and acknowledgement. And this is one of the main areas where we do a lot of things and we feel that we do a lot of things and we are not getting any acknowledgement for that. Or there's an unfairness in dealing with this acknowledgement or motivation. Ignorance or bullying, these are other areas. Lack of job security. Work pressure. There is something which there are a lot of pressure we need to, and that is where our work-life balance also may get impacted. And low sense of accomplishment. So these are main areas or causes of stress from a workplace context. Now, when it comes to the next slide, when you're talking about how do we handle stress here? Now, I just wanted to take one by one and just explain a bit more detail. For example, now one of the key things which you want to work on when you're dealing with stress is make time for hobbies. Do what you love, and that relieves you a lot of stress. Next one is talk to someone, and it's very important that we talk to someone. Okay. And when you talk to someone, especially sometimes when you're close and you open up and say your problems, it gives you a lot of relief. And in an office environment, it's very important that we create that environment so that people open up and then talk to each other. Exercise and playing. And even though these two are two different things, for example, now when you say you play something, when you play badminton, when you play soccer, there is also exercise involved, but there is a big difference between doing only exercise and playing. Because when you do exercise, for example, now when I run, when I go for the gym and I do the treadmill, my mind may not be there. My mind may be thinking about the problems which I had in office, or my mind may be thinking about the problem which I had with someone. But the moment you are actually playing, then when you play, the game will not allow your mind to be somewhere else. It actually ensures that your mind is also playing along with you. It is involved there. So I would recommend that if there's a possibility of playing something, that's the best thing as compared to only doing exercise. Practice meditation. That is another big area where it gives lot of control, compassion in your mind. You will be able to
I think we lost him again.
You know, he freezes, but he's still talking.
Yeah.
But it's on mute, so I think.
Maybe for a couple-
Sagin?
Sajin, we can't hear you.
We think about the big problems may not be actually big enough for you to worry about. And it is one of the tools we could try out. You write down the problem and its impact. Okay. Sometimes you list down the problem. Okay, this 1, 2, 3 problems you're having. And the moment you start writing down against each of them, okay, so what? What is this problem? How is it impacting me? Then you may realize that, okay, that problem is not having any impact as much as you thought. It's maybe a creation of yourself based on the constraint you created for yourself. Okay, so it's another tool for bringing down the stress, writing down your problems and its impact. Deep breathing, that's something which I use very regularly. For example, now when you get frustrated with something, or when you get stressed, when you get annoyed, and this is what I do is basically I take a deep breath. Okay, I take a deep breath and I release the breath, taking double the time than I take. So that's something you need to keep in mind. Take a deep breath, take the double time to release it. So your all focus is about on the breathing part, and that relieves a lot of stress with you. Be more mindful of the present, because many times what happens is we are not in the present world. When you are in office, we think about home. When you are at home, we think about office. And move away the past from you, move away the future, be in the present, wherever you are, enjoy it. The other interesting aspect is crying helps, and it releases stress hormones. And sometimes it is okay, it is good to cry. And the tears, when it comes out, actually it releases your stress hormones. And sometimes many of the people don't take the help of the available resources. For example, now psychologists or psychiatrists, or even there are, I mean, most of the offices now, there are facilities available where they will have a number of the counselors. You could use it, and that is something which most of the people are not using. That's what the survey says. Okay.
I think we lost the audio again.
We lost your audio again. Sajin, we can't hear you.
Hi, Sajin. We are not able to hear you. Sajin, we lost you for a few seconds. Are you able to hear us?
Yeah, I sent him a private message. Anyone else having audio or video problems?
No, I mean, yeah, we are not able to hear him. So I can actually call him as well.
Yeah, we lost his picture too. I think he dropped.
Yeah. So Sajin, what I would recommend you for now is try to leave your video off for now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can just continue with your voice, if that's okay. Can you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So we lost you on the meditation, being full to the be mindful of the present. I'm sorry, you're already crying already. Yeah.
Sorry, the last one you heard was?
Yeah, the crying. That crying helps release stress.
Okay. After that, I was talking about take help from the psychologist or psychiatrist or the resources available, because almost all the offices are now connected with a counseling organization where they are having psychiatrists or psychologists as needed. And I think most of us are not using that opportunity. And I request all of you to use that opportunity wherever required, or recommend to the friends and make it more evident that these things are available. Next one I was just talking about is stop overthinking and divert your thinking, because the best way to come out of the stress is if something which has triggered you something, and maybe try to divert your thinking to something else. Now moving to the next slide. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah. So here, what I was talking about is now about handling stress, and each of us can play a major role in how can we support others in handling stress. It's not only about looking at us, it's also about how do we support others, and how much or how often do you smile and give a positive energy around you. That is something which we need to think, and you may be already doing it. My question is now, if you are you doing it enough, or if you are not doing, can you do it more? Okay. And some of the, I just want to leave some thought process here. How many times have you asked your friends or colleagues, how are you? Or is there anything I can do for you? And of course, this question can be asked when you are comfortable, and then there's an environment where this question can be asked. Otherwise, sometimes there may be people coming and talking about their problems. Maybe sometimes they are not expecting you to answer them or give an answer, or maybe your response there. They are just expecting you to just listen to them. And that gives a lot of relief to them. How many times have you called your friend or colleague during this pandemic time to just check how are they? Because sometimes nowadays we are not going to office, and we don't know what is happening. And at home, being at home only, it's not easy in the pandemic time. So just talk over phone. And other aspect is, how many times are you talking beyond office topics in the office? And sometimes I think we need to create a space. We need to create a area where they can talk. People can talk more than office. Like maybe you are already doing it, but that's very important. And how much are you approachable for others to come and talk to you? Of course, I'm sure that being being the Agile community, the Agile coaches, this is a very important aspect. How many of them, and you connect with many people in depth, and more than the official aspects, how many people come and talk to you or share with you, and how much are you approachable there? Coming to the next slide. Can you go to the next slide?
I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. So here, I think the most important aspect is stop thinking and start action. Because many a times what happens is we keep on thinking about if there is some topic on stress or some areas where we are not comfortable, we keep thinking, and there is no action which is coming out. So stop thinking and start acting. And how much time or money we spend on investing on mental well-being, rather than, for example, we spend a lot of time in exercises or medicines or many other things, and how much effort or how much time or money we spend on mental well-being. With that, moving to the last slide, that was the all inputs from my side. Thank you very much, and I would like to take questions if any. And I'm very sorry for this.
No, not a problem. Not a problem. This thing happens when we are live.
Yeah, I think everybody who has presented during this pandemic and remote working has gone through something similar, Sagin.
Yeah.
So no need to apologize.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed your presentation, Sagin. So thank you very much for that. I especially loved how you talked about us taking care of ourselves, but also how much we have been taking care of other people as well. And I think that regarding the topic that we want to cover today, mental health and burnout, I think this is essential because sometimes we're so busy doing our work, and ticking our tasks that we're not really looking around and paying attention to the people that are in our team or in our home sometimes. And I think the remote working has made that an even greater challenge because we cannot see our team members. So we only interact with them sometimes only via voice, because when people are not well, they also tend to turn off their videos. At least that's what I've observed.
Yeah,
so
about connecting with people at work apart from work related topics, right? So in my experience, I have two things that I've seen. So one thing that I have enabled is virtual coffee breaks. I think most of you know it. The only rule to join that meeting, that will be for 20 minutes every day, is not to talk anything related to office. Not even telling, I just came back from this meeting. No, you're not allowed to even tell that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one. Another thing that I've seen is, water coolers. So water cooler is something, virtual water cooler or whatever you want to call it, right? So that is like, it is like a virtual of virtual. I mean, you don't even meet or dial into a meeting or something there, but it is just like a chat that is running in any chat tool that you use, especially only, non-work related subjects, fun, making jokes, sending some crazy, gifs, all of that stuff, right? So all of that, helps to know each other, connect better, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good, Raj.
For me, it was really interesting to see the difference between exercise and playing. I never thought of it. And I think that's for now. That for me, for example, I don't like playing games, but I'm the kind of person that whenever I'm exercising or if I'm cleaning my house or if I'm brushing my dog, I kind of like turn my mind completely off. It's like a shutdown, like exercise for me. So I think that would be my way of playing, probably.
If you are able to do that, then that is great.
Yeah. But
it's a nice self-reflection, Dani.
Yeah. So guys, shall we go to our panel? Because we do have a lot of things to talk about still. So let me share my screen again. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see the panel.
Yeah, so these are the panelists for today. I'm just gonna ask them to briefly introduce themselves. But before we do this, I'd like you guys to go again to the Mentimeter. Because this is one of the questions that we'd like to ask you guys. So how frequent did you work from home before pandemic? Okay. Nice picture.
A well-balanced audience.
Yeah, really well balanced. Yeah. And what about the second question?
That is during Corona times, right, Dani?
Yes. Still during Corona times, yes. Oh, interesting thermometer for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last question before we start the panel. What is your routine working from home? Did you maybe like maybe because maybe you're just asking for a routine might be too big, but I don't know, like which is the essential thing that you have to do before you start working nowadays?
Somebody said 9 a.m. to no end.
Wow. Yeah. Still trying to figure out a health routine for myself.
Yeah.
More short breaks, yes. personal hygiene. That's really good to mention. Yeah, that's really important. And also create these time boxes as well as mentioned here. Really interesting. Struggling with back-to-back meetings, wake up early, have a great breakfast.
Who else has back-to-back meetings there? Raise your hand.
Yeah. Not enough breaks.
Yeah. Sounds like a recipe for burnout.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about it. I just stopped sharing my screen. And yes, let's go. Let's do a quick round by the panelists. So, Sagin, could you just introduce yourself really quickly again for the people that were not here on the talk?
Sure. Myself, Sagin Sebastian, and I am working as Agile coach with Siemens, Bangalore, India. And I'm also doing my master's in psychology, and I'm doing some counseling, as well as I've taken my certification in counseling and aspiring organization psychologist. That's a quick introduction about me.
Thank you. Steve, can you go next?
Sure. I'm a senior Agile coach. I now run my own company since I got laid off last year. I've been a full-time Agile coach for over 9 years. I'm also a professional leadership and developmental coach.
Thank you. Coca?
So I am Coca. I am the founder of Agile Beer. I'm also an Agile coach. And I was also laid off last year during the pandemic, which led to huge stress. But right now I am working in Zurich Insurance here in Dublin, Ireland.
Thanks. Akemi.
So a little bit different from everyone else. I'm not an agile coach. I am a psychologist. And I live in Salvador, and I have been working on counseling and clinical psychology, helping people deal with everyday issues and mental health issues, self-awareness. And more recently, I have been working with the agile people in Knowledge 21 and helping deal with mental health issues, awareness, and bringing a better well-being in the workplace, more mental health in the workplace. I'm also a mom, a tired person of a 3-year-old girl that has a ton of energy, and I don't.
Yeah.
I can empathize, Akemi. I have 3 kids and 3 pets. So
yeah. So let's so yeah, I just shared here in the chat again the easy retro that you guys can also add your questions there for the panels, but for the panelists. But let's start then. We also did some homeworks here, so we can use it as a boost for starts.
yeah.
So when we talk about so how much effort and energy are we putting on being mentally fit? And Sagin, I'd like you to maybe give a brief explanation, because you also touched this point previously in your talk as well. But maybe we can also try to trigger with some initiatives as well that we saw in organization during Corona times.
So my observation is basically, and at least the people I've interacted with and I'm seeing here, of course, the connecting it back to the exercises and all those things, it is increasing, but still there is a big gap between how much we are spending our energy or our money in mental well-being, and I know many people who are not at all spending there, or not at all spending time for even meditation or anything for that matter, even for exercise. And that's a big gap. And sometimes what happens is when I think about it more, what I understand is that at the end of the day, many of the illness is triggered, or maybe it's created because of our not mental well-being, because it can create many illness, because if you are not if you are stressed, or if you are not feeling comfortable, and those stressors can trigger many of the illness. But people are not spending enough I would say enough focus in mental well-being.
So what would you so if you could give like a brief explanation, what would be the definition of mentally fit person?
Okay, great question. Now for me, it is like, are you happy, and are you happy living, and you are able to manage your life, you are able to manage your office, you are able to manage your home, and that gives me an impression that yes, he's a mentally fit person.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe others can add to that.
I believe we can actually think a little bit more about self-awareness, because to be mentally fit, we have to be self-aware. We have to take a little bit of time to acknowledge how we actually are. And that sometimes is run over by the schedule, the meetings, the agenda, and for Coca 3 kids, the pet, and everything else. And sometimes it's hard to take a break and, how am I doing today? And what can I actually do to make an improvement? And maybe I need a little bit of more time. And that's totally related to what Sagin said. We are not taking time. We're not putting that effort. We're not actually having a little bit more of attention to us, to ourselves. And we end up neglecting a little bit of our health in general. And we only realize, oh, maybe I'm not doing so good when some big thing happens that I'm not able to function. Wow, what's going on? And all those signs were there, little by little, happening just a little bit every day. And it's fine, it's okay. I don't have to handle that today. I have a big project to finish. I have that meeting, that client with that meeting, and we end up neglecting our mental health, right?
Yeah. I think that's also something relatively new, I would say, the concern about the mental well-being and to be mentally fit. I remember not long ago, it was valued, and in some countries it's still valued, the culture of people that, come into work really early, leave the office late, respond emails, late at night. They are promptly available for their managers. So I think that this culture is still something that is really strong, and we're still in very early stages of feeling comfortable to say that we're not okay, or that we need some time for ourselves, and to reflect on where we are and how we are doing on a specific day.
And so Coca, for you then, so as a friend and a colleague, how would you support people that you notice they are burned out? And also, what would you not do?
That's a very good one. So today, everybody, I decided that I was going to talk openly about some of the challenges that I've had personally. I think that's a very good way for us to create the safe space as well, and to normalize that we're not okay all the time. So I'll start saying that I've gone through burnouts at least twice. I may be going through my third burnout right now, and I'm still unsure, but I do feel that I have all the signs. So some of the signs are, and Akemi, Sagin, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my own personal experience and my own researches, some early signs are you feel very low in your energy. You have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning. Your motivation is very, very low. I remember there was a point in time where I was so exhausted that just lifting a glass of water felt like it's the big efforts that I had to make. And then as a consequence, you start not functioning, as Akemi said, because you're so drained, you're so tired, you start not functioning. So you feel like you can skip your shower because you're too tired. So it's okay if you don't take a shower. And then you start skipping, brushing your teeth or brushing your hair because you're too tired. So it's okay if you skip one day. And then that one day turns into two. And then two turns into three. And then you start getting into a vicious cycle as well. So because you are so low and because you're so tired and because you already are not taking care of yourself, you feel one more day, what difference is it going to make? And it came to a point where I stopped going to work as well because I didn't function there. I didn't want to see people. I didn't feel like interacting, and I had no energy to get dressed and to get the bus, and even to talk. I felt like I was too tired to talk. And it took me a long time to figure out what I should do under those circumstances because I felt silly to call the doctor and say, hey, doctor, I'm feeling this way. What should I do? Because I didn't know how to explain to the doctor that I was tired. Would I be wasting their time if I called in to say that I was tired? I mean, what could they do? So I started to try and figure out solutions for myself, and then you start Googling and you're like, oh, maybe I'm lacking vitamins. I'm going to go and get some vitamins, and then you're like, maybe it's because I'm not sleeping well. And then you realize you're actually suffering from insomnia, right? You're too tired and you can't sleep. And then because you're not nurturing yourself, even with food and everything, because you're too tired to cook or you don't feel like chewing or you don't feel like eating, then you start getting ill, So I had lots of colds and colds that would never get cured and like little infections on skin, things that should heal really quick. They became, long-term problems. And then I decided to see the doctor because of these other problems, because from a cold, I went to a pneumonia, from a small cut, I went to some kind of fungi or infection on the skin. And then I remember once I was at the doctor and I had a total mental breakdown. I started to cry. I couldn't stop crying. And when the doctor asked me what was happening to me, I was like, I just feel so tired. I don't know why I'm so tired. And I started to cry and I started to say that everything was bad, that I was gaining weight without any explanation, that I couldn't sleep, that I couldn't work. I felt like I couldn't even love my kids at a certain point. So I'm just going to pause here to see if Akemi, Sagin, or Steve, if you want to add anything before I say, how do we help a friend? But just to this point, is there anything you would like to add?
Actually, Coca, she talked about a different kind of symptoms, like behavioral issues, cognitive issues, like emotional issues, and sometimes it can be a little bit different for one person to the other, but there are some signs or symptoms. If we're talking about burnout, they're really, really spot on, like this feeling of exhaustion. God. And sometimes you wake up and think, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to. You dread going to work and handle it with people. You don't have the energy for it. And
exactly.
Coca talked about it, told us about those things. They're really, really common in the burnout syndrome. And nowadays we're talking not only about work stress related burnout, but also burnout in the motherhood, right? Being burnout from motherhood, that also happens. Being burnout of taking care of a family member, that needs our help constantly. And those stressors stay with us for a very long time. And sometimes we don't have the support we need to actually handle and deal and take a break and complete the stress cycle, right? So this three dimensions of burnout, exhaustion, feeling low professional efficacy. I'm sorry, is that correct? I think it is, right?
Yeah,
You don't
I think
feel
so.
like a good professional. You're not having the sense of accomplishment. I cannot produce, I cannot perform as well as I used to, and being more negative and detached from your work. Like, what is the meaning? There's no meaning in that. And when we look at those three dimensions, those three big signs, we can, oh, is there a burnout over there? Is there something like that happening? And it's very frequently nowadays, right?
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's really hard to share that, right, Akemi? Like, for example, talking for myself, I know that many people think, Coca is this Wonder Woman, she does all these things. She's such a great professional. She has 3 kids. She has pets. She takes care of her sister, her mom. She does Agile Beer. She does talks, all of this. And sometimes I find it hard to go back to these people that look up to me and to say, you know what, guys, I'm not okay, because you feel like people get inspired by you and you don't want to let them down. So there's that factor as well, right?
I think, Coca, I think this itself is a great inspiration to others. That when people look at you and you itself talking about this, that it has happened to you. And this itself is a big inspiration to others, at least those who are here. And second one is, I would like to connect, adding to what Akemi had mentioned, like if you connect back with the chart which I made, okay, there's a upper limit. And I think you cross that upper limit and you are there for long. And I think the more you are there, it is difficult to come out of it. And I think you broke that by going to the doctor and opening up and breaking out. And I think that is, and the important aspect is you stayed there for some time and then you did that, and that is where it allowed you to come back to the normal situation. And that's also a great message to others, that you need to do something rather than keep on thinking and continuing the same situation. And that's a great message to others as well.
Yes, 100%. Like, to be very honest with everybody that's here, I felt like I've never fully recovered from that burnout. I feel that I recover a little bit, but then I tend to spread myself too thin, and then I find myself on edge again. And sometimes I fall into smaller burnouts, and then I recover faster from them because I'm scared to be in the place that I was. But, for everybody that's listening, I'd say it's super important that you act on your exhaustion, you act on your burnout as fast as you can, because it can have long-term consequences, and my first burnout was in 2017. So it's been 4 years now. And I still feel that I am on edge. I still feel that I am operating on a very thin thread of energy. So what to do and what not to do?
Yeah, so what not to do? Do we have any recommendation of what not to do?
I think it's, from my perspective, I'm talking from a very personal perspective here on this panel. And then, of course, Sagin and Akemi can help, bring that to a broader perspective. But from my own perspective, please don't talk to the person that is going through a hard situation. Like, you just need motivation,
Mm-hmm.
you just need a little bit more coffee, you just need to get into work, go get dressed, get into work, everything will sort itself out. Like, don't say
Yeah.
these cliche
Mm-hmm.
sentences It's not that easy. And these are not the type of things that will help somebody get out of a burnout situation. So I would say definitely no, don't do those things.
Yeah, it reminded me that that video from Brené Brown that we have in YouTube, that difference between sympathy and empathy. I'm gonna make sure that I'm adding this to the user
links
as well. Yeah. Steve, would you like to contribute?
What not to do? Jeez. What's not been said? I like to say what to do. Number one, be their friend. And one of the things that I've challenged a few people is find a real friend, and I mean a real friend, that'll be your accountability partner, that will let you know, hey, why don't you frickin' slow down? Let's go talk. Let's talk about it. Because, we get burnout because of life and work, and it overcomes us. And if we don't have someone to say stop, we're going to keep going until we crash and we hit that wall. So, and I know those people that know me, I always say have a coach. You don't have to have a coach. You can just have a brave, real friend that will tell you to stop. You're doing too much, and support you on that and hold you accountable. When you say, okay, I'm going to stop doing that, Steve, you check in a couple days later, a week later, and say, okay, are you still doing that? And nail them to the wall. There's this thing that, and I don't like it, the whole premise of it, but this thing called tough love. Sometimes you got to be tough with the people you love so they don't hurt themselves.
Yeah, I love that.
This can lead to serious problems. Serious problems.
Yes.
So be a real friend. As I say, read them the Riot Act, and just be there for them. Be there for them.
So a lot of people are just mentioning here about toxic positivity. Yes. So let's get to this topic then about toxic positivity. What do you guys have seen so far? Because this topic, it's really closely connected with psychological safety that Steve just brought as well, that you have to have like a friend to also go and make sure that you're also talking to it. And yeah, so Akemi, could you go really briefly about this topic for us?
Raj had his hand up.
Okay, I'm sorry, Raj.
I can go after Akemi also. The reason is I have two things to share, very important things, very positive note. If I can share now quickly, I'm fine.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. I'm not a psychologist, but I kind of look up to people who are doing good in teaching others, preaching others. So one such person told two important things. One, when you are in a relationship, don't think of what you can get from that relationship. Please think of what you can give instead. Yeah. This is a big thing, actually. It's kind of an eye-opener for me, at least. Most important, right? So in a relationship, think of what you can give. Don't think of what you can get. Number two, when you are in trouble, any trouble be it, don't look up. Please look down, which means don't look at people who are better than you or who are having more comfort, more money, more whatever than you. Look at people who are struggling for their basic needs. Even what Sagin was showing as basic needs as food, shelter, clothing. There are people who are suffering from just that. Look down on those people. Compared to them, I'm sure most of us will feel better at, right? So look down when you are in trouble, don't look up. So these two things, I would say, will kind of not get us into any kind of stress, to be frank, right? So many people get into stress because of relationship issues or life issues, which are mostly related to, comparing yourself with others. So I thought this will be useful in this context. Hope it was useful. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for sharing, Raj. So going back to today's toxic positivity then. Let's hear from Akemi then, a brief explanation.
When nowadays toxic positivity is really has been a subject of a lot of talk. We have been talking a lot about it, and sometimes we say it, but we don't really know what it means. And we actually try to help others by using this kind of positivity, and it's not very often that works. Sometimes it can only make it worse, because it brings out something that Coca said, like, oh, you should be happy and glad for something. And in that state of mind, the state that somebody's not well, not doing so well, is burned out, is depressed, has probably anxiety, is not lacking of willpower for doing something. The person is not lacking strength to overcome. She needs help. We don't have to put it on the person. Like nowadays, we are living in a time where we are obsessed with the positive thinking power. Positive thinking, it has a power. Yes, it does. It works sometimes if we ensure the person actually has social support. We can ensure person have tools to overcome and help if she needs professional help, even missed a view of any kind of bad situation. Look, I just broke my foot. Oh, but another one that is good. Like, we actually don't say that with a problem, obvious health problem, but with mental issues, we can actually say, oh, but tomorrow is going to be a better day. But look, the sun is shining. You should be grateful for it. Okay, the sun is shining, but I'm overwhelmed with problems, stress, and there's so much on my plate right now that I'm not being able to handle, and I need help. And it's very hard to ask for help when the person beside you or trying to help you is actually not listening to you, not helping you understand what's going on. And with this kind of attitude of this toxic positivity, we are actually shutting down people for reaching for help. People are not going to ask for help if others say to you, oh, look at the bright side of everything. Like somebody said here, Pollyanna syndrome, like you have always to be happy. No, being happy is awesome, it's great, but being not so good, being not so happy is a part of the human life. Sometimes we're gonna struggle. It comes with the package. You get happy moments, not so happy moments, easier time, not so easier time. And we live in a time that we have to perform all the time, do our best all the time. We don't have the space to not do so good and ask for help. So I guess we're struggling with this positive vibes all around, and that's not easy when we're struggling, when you have having a hard time with some kind of mental health issue.
Yeah, and I think today there is a lot of this happening in social media, right, Akemi? I mean, even during the pandemic, and maybe still now, all we could see scrolling through any of the social medias were, what are you learning? You know, you have to go after your dreams. Well, you know, what's your excuse? You know, there is a lot of pressure for having a nice body, for learning something new, you know, for even if they are suggesting that you learn meditation or yoga, which in theory are good things, but not under that pressure, you know, that you have to do that. Otherwise, you're wasting your time while everybody else is learning something.
Yeah.
It is very cruel.
Just adding to that, see, sometimes in the social media, there is a lot of positivity being shared, and maybe the people who are sharing this positivity may be stressed in ways side, and that they don't want to share. But on the contrary, they not. The moment they start talking about their problems, what vibes are they passing to the others? And it's more important that it's okay to share positive things, because if they are getting, that's my view, if they're getting pleasure from sharing positive things, it is perfectly fine. But at the same time, if each individual is going through a pressure or stress, I think they should have another action for addressing that. Maybe talk to a psychiatrist or psychologist, and then or do whatever they think that it makes sense and come out of that. That is something they need to do. But sharing negative things is not a solution there. But sharing negative things maybe with the close ones, like maybe me or the or not, I don't think anyone will be ready to open up their actual thing in the social media. It'll be very tough, and they'll be very brave as well. And I'm sure that if they are so brave, they are mentally strong, that they will be able to come out of it soon.
Yeah.
That's
I think be
my
more
view.
honest. We're all human beings. We all go through tiredness. We all go through sadness. We all go through not well slept nights, every now and then. So I think if all of us were more honest, then whenever somebody's struggling, it shouldn't be a huge problem to talk about it.
So talking a little bit then about this being productive all the time and being busy and fear of missing out most of the time or even all the time. Why do we do that? Steve?
Well, first it's, from our part as employees, we don't want to feel that way or appear that way because we don't want to lose our job. Because for decades, the leadership, managers, I won't call them leaders because I have a different definition between a leader and a manager. Managers are all about making sure that productivity is maintained at all costs. And so the minute you display any kind of weakness, you're putting your continued career at risk. And so oftentimes people will swallow their feelings and their emotions until they reach a breaking point. And then once they reach that breaking point, it's too late. They have heart attacks, they have high blood pressure, they have, they've gained a lot of weight because they're stress eating, or maybe they've turned abusive themselves and ruined their family life, all for a damn job. But that's because, and even in this day and age, there are still managers that do that. And they're not all old like me. They're young people as well, because that's the way they were trained, is we always have to make sure, they're using the excuse today of, well, we have to keep the customer satisfied. Well, that's a bunch of BS. They just want the bottom line of making more money, because the more money the manager makes, the more money they get. And so somehow we have to overcome that stigma. And one of the ways that we have to consider, when we all have jobs at companies that offer healthcare, most of the times in that healthcare package, there's going to be mental health offerings. There's also usually, nowadays, probably the past 5 or 10 years that I've seen, working for big companies, there's also a wellness part of that healthcare package. And that's where you can see a third-party specialist and talk to them about your stress, whether it's a psychiatrist or psychologist or some other kind of board-certified therapist that you can go to, and the company doesn't theoretically or supposed to know about it, especially in the US because of OSHA rules and HIPAA rules, but there is usually that in your employment package. But people don't realize it oftentimes because they don't read that part, or they don't participate in the wellness part. And that leads into one of the questions, Dani, that I was going to take is, what happens when you do work for one of these people that is all about, work, 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 and I don't care what your personal problems is. Just do your job. And if you got those managers that you can't go to and talk to, that's where you can go to these wellness people. And of course, there's always HR. Now, I've had some good HR people and I've had some really lousy HR. In fact, I've had some HR people that were worse than my manager.
Wow. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I got nervous all the time that I hear something similar to this.
Yeah. So, you just got to weigh your options and think about what's more important. And it's the least important thing, whether you want to realize it or not. And I've had to come to this realization is it sure as hell isn't my job. My job is the least important thing there is. And that's one of the reasons why I don't work at the company I used to work at anymore, because I realized that, no, I can't do this anymore. But that's how we take care of ourselves. We have to realize, where do we go when we have problems and our leadership doesn't respond to us? Look at your healthcare package first, or find someone in HR that can help you, that's willing to help you. And keep in mind that you are more important than your job. You can always get another job. Always.
Yeah, true that. Well, our time is almost up. I'm checking the questions that we still have here in Easy Retro. I'm not sure if Sagin, you can pick this one up. Like, is mental health opposite of hard working? Do you have any definition for this? And how to balance it?
Is mental health opposite to hardworking?
Yeah.
For me, no, directly no, because it depends on the passion. Now, for example, are you hardworking because somebody has asked you to work, or are you hardworking because it's based on your passion? And if it is based on your passion, you enjoy it, and actually it will impact you positively to a great extent. I would connect it to the positive stress. But otherwise, if somebody is asking you to work, and then if you connect to the job environment where we are not, there is micromanagement, managers, and then the managers consider you as they're just looking at profit, and they just excuse you, then it may be related to that, or you may get mental pressure because of that. But it's not opposite to that.
I like that answer. There is one thing that I would like to add, Dani, if that's okay.
Sure.
I once heard that your biggest strength can also be your greatest weakness. And that never made sense to me. I was like, how can your biggest strength be your greatest weakness? That doesn't make any sense. And I learned the hard way, I guess, right? Sometimes what we love the most is what we invest our energy in the most, and then we end up burning ourselves out. And so what was something that we really loved and it was our passion can drain us to an extreme.
Absolutely, yeah.
And sometimes we don't have the resources for. We don't have the tools. Maybe you're in an environment that you love what you're doing. You love spending 8 hours, 10 hours doing what you love, but sometimes it's so much is asked, and you don't have the tools, you don't have the resources. That can also impact your mental health, even though you love it. Loving it, what you're doing, it's great for having the balance. Manage to work hard and have great mental health, but we need some other details so we can actually make this math work.
And I like what Kimmy said is we have to balance it, because a lot of us love our job and we would do it 24/7 if we're not careful, and that can cause you to break down even quicker, and then you feel guilty because you love what you're doing, you're helping so many people, and you feel guilty because you just burn yourself out. So
Yeah.
I love that, Kimmy. Thank you for that.
Just wanted to add maybe another concept called I think you can search, maybe I'll put it in the chat. It's called Miller's magic number. Okay, the Miller's magic number is something like you have RAM in the computer. It's like what it says is you have 7 chunks in your brain, and that's your memory. Okay, the moment and more emotional you have something, you're more emotional.
Yeah, it's breaking.
Yeah, he's froze again.
Are you able to hear me?
We are now.
Yes,
You locked
we
up
can
for a
hear
few
now.
minutes.
Okay, sorry. So basically, what it talks about is the more emotional you are connected to something, it occupies these 7 chunks, and then you are emotionally drained. That is one part of it. That's how you drain your memory part. The second one is the physical aspects. For example, now if you are, I think, as Coca was saying, that if you are interested in something and then it drives you to do more, then physically you may get drained. So if both the things combine together, then it will have a major impact.
Yeah. If you could just share this link afterwards so you can read a little bit more there in the Easy Retro. We can also post that in our LinkedIn page as well after.
Will do
Guys,
so.
yeah. Guys, we have to wrap up here because it's really late for Sagin. So yeah, let's just give like a quick round for the panelists. What is your final message that you'd like to leave for today? Coca, you may start.
Final message. That's a hard one. I would say what I would tell me, right? That would be my final message. Take care of yourselves, right? Make sure you're paying attention to you in the first place. If you are connected enough to yourself, you will know the signs, you will know early, and you will be able to pause, take a deep breath, remanage your routine to make sure that you're getting what you need so you don't fall into this place of burning out. And one thing that has been said here, and I think it's worth reinforcing, I think, Steve, you were the one to say, you only have one life, right? You may change jobs, you may find another job, you may start over, but you only have one life. So if you really feel you need to take a break, make sure you do that. Taking a day, 2, a week even, it's not going to stop a company. If it does, then the problem is even bigger. So make sure you take care of yourselves.
Thank you. Steve?
I loved what Coca said. I'm sorry. Go, Steve.
No, sorry, Akemi.
Gee, I think if you feel you have the propensity to overwork yourself, find someone that truly cares about you and is courageous and can hold you accountable and be there for you and remind you just what Coca and Dani said, that you're more important than what you do. So save yourself. But find that right person that you can share and who isn't afraid to tell you the truth.
Thank you, Steve. Akemi?
I loved what Coca and Steve brought up, and I think we should actually think, when am I in doubt if I'm okay or not? Look for a professional. What is the worst thing that can happen if you ask for help? Nothing. Nothing. What's the worst thing? If you go to the doctor, if you go to a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, right? And sometimes you dread that moment. think about, oh no, I'll try the vitamins first. I'll try that first. Why not asking this question? Am I okay? To somebody that actually can maybe lead us to another path, help us.
Thank you.
Very true.
Yeah, great message. Great message. And I think ask for help. And even if you are not able to reach a psychiatrist or a psychologist or maybe a counselor, maybe even identify someone whom you can share with. And if you are having some challenge, maybe ask for help. That's more important. And even if it is in the office, raise points, say that I need help. And sometimes because of our toxic positivity or whatever reasons, where maybe you are too senior to ask for help, sometimes it holds us asking for that help. And I think we should come out of that. And if there's a need, we should ask for help.
Yeah, too senior or too proud.
Good points,
That's really
Dani.
tricky. Yeah.
Good point.
Guys, yeah. This talk, like, probably we could just continue forever, because we had already like listed like a lot of questions, and people also placed like a lot of questions here. So maybe one thing that we can also try to do is I'm gonna share these questions with the panelists, and this is something that maybe we can share with you guys later in LinkedIn as well, like what would be their possible answer, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah. And a lot of feedback, and yeah, I'm really happy. And guys, please continue sharing the useful links. I'm gonna leave this this is retroactive up to tomorrow end of day. And yes, I can share the LinkedIn. It's Agile Beer. Really difficult, but I can send it to you in private as well. That's okay. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining. If you guys could just unmute yourselves, just say bye. Have an amazing evening for you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Do you have this amazing beer that you're just having? I just saw you taking sips on the beer. It's like, oh my God, I so wanted that.
And I'll post this on YouTube this afternoon under Agile Beer.
Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Dani.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Akemi, Sagin.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
everybody.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Let's take a picture. Don't leave. Can someone take a picture?
I already got a couple. I already got a couple.
You already got a couple? Okay, got it.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you.
See you.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Tchau, gente. Por último,
Akemi, people really love your presentation. We even have 2 votes here that they would like to have an entire talk from you.
A talk
That's
from
nice.
Yeah,
I was concerned if people are gonna understand my English,
No problem.
Your English was perfect.
It was perfect.
What are you saying, Akemi?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this invitation. I love. Now I'm going back to work.
Okay.
Okay.
Go.